The alien council chamber was cold, lit by long strips of blue light that hummed quietly. But the quiet didn't last long. It broke when the aliens started laughing. Not the happy kind of laughter. This was the sharp, cruel sound of people who believed they were better than the one standing before them. In the center of the room stood Captain Ryan Hale, the only human in the building. His wrists were locked in metal cuffs. The guards on each side gripped their weapons tightly, though Ryan hadn't moved once. He simply stared at the group of alien leaders in front of him, his face calm, his eyes steady. He didn't give them the fear they wanted. "You humans talk big," one of the alien elders sneered, "yet you hide behind machines, behind walls, behind your own weakness." The others chuckled in agreement. They called him a coward, a fragile thing unfit for war. Ryan had heard all of it before. It didn't matter. He wasn't here to win an argument. He was here because they had given him a choice: accept their trial or be executed on the spot. The trial was simple, at least in words. They would send him into the forbidden jungle of Carther Prime. He would be given only a small blade. If he returned alive after one night, he would be free. But nobody had ever returned, not even the strongest alien warriors, and that was the reason for the laughter. To them, he was already dead. The alien commander stepped forward, a tall figure with armor carved from the bones of fallen beasts. His grin was wide, his voice mocking. "By dawn, human, the jungle will eat you alive." He tossed a short, curved blade at Ryan's feet. The sound of metal hitting the floor echoed in the chamber. Ryan bent down slowly, picked it up, and weighed it in his hand. The blade was old, slightly dull. They didn't even bother to give him a proper weapon. It wasn't meant for fighting, it was meant for the hunt to be over quickly around him. The guards opened the great bone-carved gate that led to the outside. Beyond it, Ryan could already hear the jungle, a strange mix of growls, buzzing, and the low hum of something large moving between the trees. The air that drifted through the gate was damp, warm, and thick with the smell of rot. The place felt alive, not just alive, hungry. The commander waved his hand. "Step forward, human." Ryan looked at him for a long moment. No anger, no fear, only the faintest hint of a smile. Then he spoke, his voice low. "I've been to worse places." That made the laughter grow louder. The aliens thought he was lying. They thought he was trying to look brave. Ryan walked through the gate without looking back. The heavy doors slammed shut behind him instantly. The sound of the council chamber faded. It was replaced by the breathing of the jungle. Yes, breathing. The leaves shifted even when there was no wind. Somewhere far to his left, he heard a deep, rumbling growl. To his right, something large crashed through the underbrush. The sound stopped as suddenly as it began. The silence that followed felt worse than the noise. Ryan knew one thing from his years as a soldier on Earth: silence in a place like this never meant safety. It meant something was watching. His eyes scanned the thick shadows between the trees. There was movement there, not close enough to see clearly, but close enough to smell him. He tightened his grip on the blade. It wasn't much, but he didn't plan on using it the way they expected. The aliens thought strength came only from muscle and size. They didn't understand that humans survived by thinking faster, by using the land, the shadows, the very air to turn the fight. Every step deeper into the jungle made the ground softer. It squished under his boots, releasing sharp smells of decay. Large roots twisted up from the soil like the bones of giants. Some were slick with strange moss, others were covered in deep claw marks. Ryan stopped to look at one. The claw mark was longer than his forearm. Whatever made it was massive, and if the stories were true, there was only one creature in Carther Prime that big, the Carther Beast. He had heard the name whispered among the guards. They called it the end of all challengers. No alien warrior had ever killed it. Most never even saw it before they died. And now, somewhere in this jungle, it knew he was here. Ryan didn't need to see it to feel the weight of its presence. It was the same feeling he had felt on battlefields before an ambush. The air pressing against his skin, the way every sound seemed sharper, the way his body told him to move quietly. The aliens thought sending him here was a death sentence, and maybe they were right, but Ryan had no plan to die for their amusement. He was here for something else, not just survival, victory, and maybe, just maybe, A way to turn their laughter into fear. Asterisk, the first thing Ryan noticed after the gate closed was the sound. It wasn't just animals making noise, this was the jungle itself. Branches creaked like old bones. Vines shifted as if they had their own heartbeat. Somewhere high above, large wings beat the air, followed by a shrill cry. He stood still, letting his eyes adjust to the dim green light. Here, even daylight barely touched the ground. Thick leaves above blocked most of the sun. Turning everything into a world of shadows, Ryan moved slowly, placing each step with care. Back on Earth, he had survived in war zones by learning that rushing only got you killed. He used the same rule here. Every few meters, he stopped to listen. Sometimes the jungle was loud, buzzing, chirping, growling. Other times, it went completely silent. Those silent moments were the ones that mattered. That's when hunters were close. He found signs of life everywhere. Claw marks on trees, some fresh and dripping with dark fluid, bones scattered in the mud, some small, like from a bird, others thick, belonging to creatures bigger than a man. He crouched near one and ran his fingers along the smooth, clean break. The bone had been snapped with incredible force, the kind of force that could crush a human in seconds. The air grew heavier the deeper he went. It wasn't just the heat though, sweat was already running down his neck. It was the feeling of being watched. At first, it was a light pressure, but now it felt like a weight on his shoulders. His instinct screamed that something was following him, not close enough to see, but close enough to plan its attack. Ryan had no interest in waiting to be hunted. He scanned the terrain. Up ahead, the ground sloped down into a narrow ravine. Thick roots hung from above, forming a curtain. It would make a perfect ambush point if something came for him. It would have to pass through there. He moved toward it, careful not to break branches or make noise. Halfway there, he froze. The sound behind him had changed. It wasn't the soft shift of leaves anymore. It was heavy, deliberate steps. 1. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. Ryan's heart rate stayed steady. He didn't look back. Instead, he walked a little faster toward the ravine. If the thing wanted to follow, he'd give it the perfect path. He reached the edge and slipped into the shadows beneath the hanging roots. The smell hit him first, wet earth mixed with something foul, something rotten. He crouched low, pressing himself against the wall of the ravine. The footsteps grew louder. Branches snapped under the weight. Leaves rustled in quick bursts. Then, silence again. Ryan's grip on the blade tightened. His breathing slowed. In the dim light, he saw movement at the top of the slope. It was only a shadow at first. Then the shape leaned forward. Two glowing eyes appeared, low to the ground, but far apart, too far apart for any normal predator. The beast stepped into view. Its head alone was bigger than Ryan's torso. Thick, ridged horns curved back over its skull. Its body was built like a predator from a nightmare, layered muscle, clawed hands that could crush stone. Its skin was dark and wet-looking, as if it had just crawled out of a swamp. Every step it took made the ground tremble. It sniffed the air. Ryan didn't move, didn't breathe. The beast lowered its head, the eyes fixed on the spot where he hid. A low growl rolled from its chest, the kind of sound that made your bones feel cold. Then, without warning, it lunged. The roots tore apart as the creature crashed through. Ryan rolled to the side, the beast's claws slamming into the ground where he had been. Mud and stones exploded into the air. He didn't swing his blade, not yet. Instead, he used the chaos to scramble up the other side of the ravine. The beast roared, spinning to follow. It was too fast for something that size. Ryan ducked behind a thick tree. The beast hit it with its shoulder, snapping it in half. Splinters rained down. This wasn't a fight he could win by strength, but if he could make it chase him the right way, maybe he could control the fight. He darted through the undergrowth, weaving between trees. The beast stayed close, smashing through anything in its path. Ryan could feel the ground shake with each step. Ahead, he spotted another narrow path, this one leading toward a series of jagged rocks. If he could get it there, maybe. The beast let out a deafening roar. Birds and smaller creatures scattered into the air. Ryan didn't look back. He only thought one thing: if the jungle was hungry, it was about to find out that humans bite back. Ryan's boots sank deep into the wet ground as he ran. The sounds of the jungle blurred together, branches snapping, heavy breaths, the pounding of massive footsteps closing in. The Carther beast was relentless, no matter how fast he moved. It stayed close, crashing through trees as if they were no more than grass. Up ahead, Ryan saw the jagged rocks he had noticed before. Sharp black stone jutted from the earth like broken teeth. He changed direction slightly, letting the beast think it was driving him there. In truth, he was choosing the ground for the fight. On solid, open earth, the beast's strength would crush him, but here, among sharp rocks and tight spaces, it could be slowed. It was a small advantage. But in a place like this, small was enough. The ground narrowed into a channel between two tall ridges. Perfect, Ryan thought. If the beast charged in straight, it would have less room to move. He slowed his pace, letting it gain on him. He could feel the heat of its breath even before it lunged. Ryan threw himself to the side, just as the beast's claws slammed into the rock wall. The impact sent cracks running through the stone, chunks breaking loose and tumbling down. The beast roared, shaking its head, pulling its claws free. Ryan used that moment to move in close. He slashed his blade across the beast's side, aiming for the spot he had seen it protect earlier in the chase. The blade cut in, but only shallow. Its hide was like armor. Still, the reaction was instant. The beast bellowed in pain, swinging its massive tail. Ryan was thrown off his feet, hitting the ground hard. His chest burned, his breath knocked out of him, but he rolled quickly, just in time to avoid the crushing stomp that came down where he had landed. He scrambled to his feet, circling, keeping the rocks between them as much as possible. The beast turned to follow, its eyes glowing brighter now. It wasn't just hunting anymore, it was angry. Ryan didn't give it a chance to recover. He darted in again, slashing at its shoulder. The beast swiped back, claws catching the edge of his shirt and tearing it open, close to close. Any deeper, and it would have ripped through flesh. He moved back, breathing hard. The beast stepped forward slowly this time, its head lowered, its gaze fixed entirely on him. It wasn't rushing now, it was studying him. Ryan realized it was smarter than he had thought. This wasn't some wild animal, this was a predator that had learned from every fight it had ever had. The air between them grew still, no more noise from the jungle, no movement except the slight rise and fall of their chests. Then, both moved at once. The beast lunged. Ryan dove forward under its strike, driving his blade upward toward its throat. But the beast twisted, his blade scraping harmlessly along its thick hide. The force of its movement knocked him sideways. He slid across the mud, nearly losing his grip on the weapon. He knew he couldn't win this with pure strikes. If he kept trying to wound it directly, he'd be the one bleeding out before dawn. No, he had to change tactics. He scanned the rocks above them. Some were loose, balanced on edges after years of erosion. If he could make the beast hit one hard enough. Ryan stood his ground. The beast saw the stillness as weakness and charged. At the last second, Ryan stepped aside, drawing it past him and toward the ridge wall. Its massive shoulders smashed into the stone. The impact shook the ground and sent one of the heavy rocks tumbling down. It hit the beast's back with a thunderous crack. The creature roared, not in pain, but in surprise. Ryan saw his chance. He moved in, slashing again at that tender side. This time the cut was deeper. The beast stumbled, not from weakness but from confusion. It had never been hunted before, not like this. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Ryan saw something strange there, not just rage, recognition. As if the beast understood this was no ordinary fight. As if it knew he was different from the others it had killed. The moment passed quickly. It stepped back, breathing heavily, watching him with something almost like respect. Ryan didn't lower his blade. He didn't know what would happen next. But he knew this: the beast wasn't going to kill him yet, and in a strange way. That meant the real fight was only beginning. The jungle had gone quiet again. Only the heavy breaths of Ryan, and the beast filled the air. Mud clung to his boots. Sweat dripped down his neck, and the dull blade in his hand felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Across from him, the Carther beast stood still, its chest rising and falling like the slow beat of a drum. Its massive head tilted slightly, those ember-colored eyes locked on him. It could have lunged again. It could have ended this in seconds, but it didn't. Instead, it sniffed the air, its nostrils flaring as if trying to memorize his scent. Ryan stayed frozen. He had fought enough in his life to know sometimes survival wasn't about attacking. Sometimes it was about doing nothing until the right moment came. A light breeze passed through the narrow ravine. It carried the faint smell of smoke from his ration pack. Ryan's stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten since before the trial began. Slowly, never taking his eyes off the beast, he reached into the small pouch tied at his belt. He pulled out a strip of dried meat, hard, salty, and barely edible. He didn't plan on eating it. Instead, he tossed it toward the beast. The meat landed in the mud halfway between them. The beast's eyes flicked down to it. Its claws dug slightly into the ground, as if deciding whether this was a trick. Then, to Ryan's shock, it stepped forward not to strike, but to sniff the offering. Its massive teeth closed around the strip, and it chewed slowly. For a few seconds, the sound of chewing was the only thing in the world. Ryan couldn't believe it. The creature didn't just eat it, didn't take its eyes off him while doing it. Like it was testing him, like it wanted to see what he would do while it was vulnerable. Ryan didn't move, no attack, no sudden shift, just watching, calm and steady. When the meat was gone, the beast stood straighter, its breathing slowed. It took one step closer. Ryan's grip tightened on the blade, but he kept it low. The beast lowered its head slightly, not in fear, but almost in recognition. It made a low sound, not quite a growl, not quite a purr, a strange, deep vibration that Ryan could feel through the ground. It circled him slowly, its massive body brushing the rocks. Every muscle in Ryan's body told him to run, but he stayed. The beast stopped behind him, sniffed the air near his shoulder. Then, with a sudden movement, it stepped past him and began walking deeper into the jungle. It didn't look back, but Ryan understood the message. It wanted him to follow. The idea was insane. Following this thing could mean walking straight into its den. But staying behind meant being alone in a jungle filled with creatures far less predictable than this one, and for some reason Ryan couldn't explain. He felt the beast wasn't leading him to death, not yet. He trailed it through twisting paths, stepping over fallen logs and weaving through thick vines. At one point, it stopped and looked back. Those glowing eyes held his for a moment, then it continued forward, slower this time, almost making sure he kept up. Finally, they came to a clearing where the air felt cooler. The ground here was layered with large leaves, dry and soft. Bones lay scattered at the edges, some clean, some fresh. The beast settled down in the center, lowering its massive body onto the leaves. It kept watching him, waiting. Ryan didn't step too close, but he didn't run. Minutes passed. The tension didn't fade, but it changed. The beast didn't see him as prey, not now. Something had shifted between them. It wasn't trust, not yet, but it was no longer pure hostility. Ryan sat on a fallen log, pulling out another strip of dried meat. This time, he ate half and tossed the other half toward the beast. It caught it in midair without even lifting its head. The sound it made after soft, almost approving, was unlike anything Ryan had ever heard. He leaned back, letting the weight of the moment settle in. The aliens had sent him here expecting he would die before sunrise, but he wasn't dead. And the monster they feared more than anything was lying just a few steps away, not as an enemy, but as something else entirely. Ryan didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew this. If he could walk back to those alien gates with this creature beside him, the same ones who laughed at him would never laugh again. The night in the jungle had been long. Ryan had not slept, not because the beast threatened him, no. The creature had stayed near, resting but always alert. Its massive head would lift at the slightest noise, its ears twitching toward danger. When it moved like a shadow, silent despite its size. It was strange. Hours ago, this thing had tried to kill him. Now it seemed to be guarding him. The sky above slowly shifted from black to gray. Faint streaks of orange began to pierce the canopy. Dawn. Ryan knew the aliens would be gathering at the gates by now. They'd be expecting silence from the jungle, or maybe the distant roar of a beast finishing its hunt. They would not be expecting footsteps. Ryan stood, stretching stiff muscles. The beast rose too, watching him with those ember-bright eyes. For a moment, they stared at each other. No words, no understanding of language, but something passed between them. something that told Ryan it would follow him. He took a slow step toward the path leading back to the alien city. The beast followed. Not chained, not forced, just walking beside him like a massive, silent shadow. The journey back was tense. The jungle still watched them. Other predators kept their distance. Ryan noticed it now, the way smaller creatures would vanish when the beast passed. Even the air seemed to shift. It was like walking with a storm at his side. The bone-carved gates of the alien city came into view through the trees. Two guards stood outside, leaning on their weapons. When they saw Ryan's figure emerging from the shadows, their expressions twisted. First confusion, then shock, then fear. One guard shouted something in their alien tongue and stumbled backward. The other raised his weapon, but lowered it just as fast when the beast stepped into full view. It was taller than the gate itself, horns gleaming in the early light, and it was calm, walking beside the human like a trained warhound. The gates opened slowly, creaking under the weight of disbelief. Word spread instantly. Aliens poured into the streets. Some climbed onto rooftops for a better view. Others stayed hidden behind doors. The sound of whispers filled the air, whispers that grew into stunned silence when Ryan passed through. He didn't look at the crowd. His eyes were fixed on the council chamber ahead. The same hall where they had mocked him, where they had laughed as they sent him to die. The alien commander stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed. His smirk faltered as Ryan climbed toward him. The beast followed, each step shaking the stone beneath their feet. When Ryan reached the top, he stopped just a few paces away. The beast sat beside him, massive head lowered, eyes still locked on the commander. "You," the commander began, but he didn't finish. Ryan reached up and patted the side of the beast's neck. It rumbled softly, almost like a warning, its eyes never leaving the commander's face. "You told me the jungle would eat me alive," Ryan said calmly. "Guess it wasn't hungry." The crowd below erupted into hushed gasps. Some stared at the human with awe, others at the beast with fear. The commander said nothing. There were no words to match what stood before him. Ryan turned and began walking down the stairs, the beast following close. As they moved through the city, aliens stepped aside, pressing themselves against walls. Some bowed not to Ryan, but to the creature. Others simply stared at the strange pairing. No one dared to laugh now. At the edge of the city, Ryan glanced back at the towering walls. In less than a day, he had gone from prisoner to something more, not because he had beaten the jungle, but because he had walked out with its king, and that was something the aliens would never forget. The alien council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. Now it was filled with silence. Every alien leader sat stiff in their carved bone chairs, eyes flicking between Ryan and the massive beast lying just outside the open doors. Its huge body blocked half the sunlight. Its slow breathing echoed like the rumble of distant thunder. Ryan stood in the center, hands loose at his sides. The commander, the same alien who had sent him into the jungle, leaned forward. "You have done something no one has done in centuries," he said. Captured the Carther beast. His tone was calm, but Ryan could hear the strain behind it. It wasn't praise, it was control. "You will, of course, hand it over to us," the commander continued, "for the safety of the city." Ryan almost laughed. "Hand it over?" he said quietly. "That beast is here because it chooses to be." The commander's eyes narrowed. "We will train it, use it for war. It belongs to us now." The words had barely left his mouth before the beast moved. From outside, a deep growl rolled into the chamber. It was not the sound of fear, it was warning. Several guards stepped back from the doorway, their hands tightening on their weapons. The beast's massive head appeared in the opening, its glowing eyes locked on the commander. Ryan didn't move. He didn't call to it. The beast had decided for itself. It stepped fully into the chamber, its claws scratching against the polished floor. Every alien in the room froze. The air grew heavy. Ryan could feel the vibration of its steps in his chest. The commander rose from his chair, trying to keep his voice steady. "Control your animal, human." Ryan shook his head. "It's not my animal," he said. "It's my ally." The beast stopped beside him, lowering its head slightly as if to shield him from the others. The growl returned, louder now. Guards exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they should raise their weapons. The commander's jaw tightened. "This is not a pet. It is a danger to everyone here. Then maybe, Ryan replied. You should be careful how you treat it. The beast stepped forward, closing the distance between itself and the commander's raised platform. The alien leader. Tensed, one of the guards made the mistake of moving toward Ryan with a spear. The beast reacted instantly. It swung its head, knocking the guard clear across the room. The spear clattered to the floor. The guard groaned, alive but stunned. Gasps filled the chamber. Ryan didn't need to say a word. The message was clear. The beast answered to no one but him, and maybe not even him entirely. The commander sank slowly back into his chair. His voice was quieter now. Very well, human. Keep your ally, but know this: if it harms even one of my people, I will hold you responsible. Ryan nodded. That's fair, he said, but you should know something, Commander. If anyone tries to harm me, it won't wait for my permission to respond. The beast's eyes glowed brighter for a moment. Then it turned and walked back toward the doorway. Ryan followed, leaving the chamber in the same heavy silence he had entered. Outside, the alien crowd had gathered again when the beast appeared. The people stepped back like water parting around a stone. Some whispered. Others simply stared with wide, uncertain eyes, but none tried to block their path. As they reached the open streets, Ryan placed his hand lightly against the beast's thick hide. It didn't flinch. Instead, it made that low, strange sound again, the one that was almost like approval. He didn't know if it was loyalty, friendship, or something else entirely, but he knew one thing: the aliens had tried to make him walk into death alone. Now he walked their streets with the most feared creature in the jungle at his side, and nothing could change that. Days turned into weeks, and the story of the human and the beast spread faster than any rumor the alien world had ever known. At first, many didn't believe it. They thought it was an exaggerated tale that a human had simply stumbled out of the jungle and been mistaken for a survivor. But then they saw it for themselves, the Carther beast walking through the city streets, calm and controlled, only ever a step away from Ryan, and they realized it wasn't a story. It was real. The aliens who once laughed at Ryan now lowered their heads when he passed. Warriors who had called him weak now watched his movements carefully, not because of fear alone, but because they began to see something they had never understood about humans. Humans didn't just fight with strength, they fought with the will to survive, and sometimes survival meant turning an enemy into an ally. The commander kept his distance officially. He told the council that the beast was too valuable to kill or cage. Unofficially, everyone knew he simply didn't dare. Not after seeing how it reacted when Ryan was threatened. No one wanted to risk testing its loyalty again. It wasn't long before other alien clans sent messengers. Some came to challenge Ryan, hoping to claim the beast for themselves. Others came to offer alliances. They wanted him to bring the beast to their wars, to fight their enemies, to turn the tide of battles. Ryan refused most of them. He hadn't survived the jungle to become someone's weapon. The beast wasn't a tool, it was a partner. And every time he looked into its ember-bright eyes, he saw the same thing he had felt that first night in the clearing: mutual respect. A bond that needed no words. But the peace couldn't last forever. One night, under the red glow of the alien moons, horns echoed across the city. An enemy force was approaching. Another alien species, taller and armored. They marched in tight formation, their banners snapping in the hot wind. The city guards scrambled to the walls. The commander called for Ryan. "We need your beast," he said. Ryan only nodded. The beast had already risen. From where it rested, its deep growl rolling through the streets, the gates opened, and the defenders prepared for a brutal fight. The enemy army slowed when they saw what stood in front of them: a single human, and at his side, the Carther beast, horns gleaming, claws digging into the dirt, eyes burning like fire. The alien soldiers hesitated. Some even stepped back. They had heard the rumors. Now they were looking at the truth. Ryan stepped forward just enough for his voice to carry. "You can turn around now," he said, "or you can find out why the jungle fears me." The beast took a single step forward. Its roar shattered the night. It wasn't just a sound, it was a wall of fury and dominance that rolled across the battlefield. The enemy didn't attack. They didn't even raise their weapons. They retreated. No one wanted to be remembered as the fool who challenged the king of Carther Prime, and lived only long enough to regret it. From that night on, the city spoke Ryan's name with a mix of fear and respect, not as a prisoner, not as an outsider, but as the man who walked into certain death and came back with death itself as his companion. The alien children whispered stories about him before bed. Warriors told his tale around fires. Some added details that weren't true. Others swore they saw the beast bow its head when Ryan spoke. It didn't matter which version was told. They all carried the same message: never underestimate a human. And so the legend began, not just of a man and a monster, but of a bond formed in the heart of the deadliest jungle in the galaxy. A bond that no alien council, no army, and no force in the stars could ever break.